There's a way that successful people stop drinking that isn't hard, it's not difficult, and it's fast. In fact, it can happen in as little as 48 hours.
Stop drinking.
Very difficult.
No, beautiful. Unbelievable.
Better.
Oh, are you kidding? I would never be sitting here with you. No way, no chance.
To this day, I've never had a drink, and I have no longing for it. I have no interest in it. The fact is, if we can teach young people and people generally not to start, it's really, really easy not to take them.
You know, alcohol doesn't bring out the best in people's characters. Alcohol almost universally makes people less than they are. It's fun because it eradicates your concern for future consequences. It actually kind of does that physiologically, you might say, because alcohol is a potent anxiety-reducing drug.
In today's video, I'm going to explain the quickest, most simple and easy way for you to stop drinking alcohol that millions of people are already doing.
This is something I applied in my own life, and I haven't drunk for almost 7 years.
It's something I've taught 400 private clients to, including professionals from NASA, Google, JP Morgan, Forbes, and in short, this is going to change your life. Now, just before we get into this, if you want to get access to a free video training that shows you how to control your drinking quickly, then click the link in the description. You'll put your name and email address in, and this is a video that I cannot publish anywhere else online, so you've got to click the link down below to get access to it, because it will show you how to actually control your drinking. So click the link down below to check that video out after this one. It's the perfect video to watch after this YouTube video. So if you could go to the average individual in the street that's trying to stop drinking alcohol, and if you ask that person, give me one word to describe how stopping drinking is for you, what kind of words do you think would come up? Oh, it's depressing, it's boring, it's hard, it's difficult, I can't do it. They'd give you a whole host of negative reasons, and it would be very rare for you to meet somebody and they to say, I mean, I don't know, I don't think about it. But most people that stop drinking alcohol, they find it difficult, they find it challenging, and they find it hard. Because if everybody found it easy, we wouldn't have rehabs, we wouldn't have therapists, we wouldn't have AA meetings, we wouldn't have naltrexone. Because if it was easy for everybody to stop drinking, nobody would drink. Everybody would wake up with that very first hangover and just say, I'm good. But the world doesn't work like that. So when somebody stops drinking alcohol and they use, therapy, willpower, AA, they use any of these traditional methods, the difficulty level starts very low because motivation is high, pain is high, they want to change, so the difficulty level starts very low. But over time, what often happens is that if they don't change their relationship with alcohol and see it differently, is the difficulty level of stopping drinking increase very, very slowly over time. Because if they're using, let's say they're using willpower, right? They're just gritting through it, and every time they think about drinking, they just say, nah, not today. The longer that they go without drinking, the higher that alcohol gets up on a pedestal. And what I mean by this is that if you keep resisting alcohol and you keep thinking about it and you keep actually wanting to drink it and then having this conversation with yourself and saying, nah, not drinking right now, alcohol will just get higher and higher and higher on a pedestal until one day it's so high, I don't know, you've had a hard day at work, you're tired, you're hungry, and then you just say, F it, I'm drinking. And quite often, these relapses, when people are using these old ways of stopping drinking, can be very, very painful. People can often end up drinking more than before they stop drinking. So I've got a completely different way to do things, and it's actually flipping this graph upside down. See, the best way to do things is to use this thing called the plane method. And if you look on a graph right now, it's similar, where we both start in a place of pain, where it's very easy to get the ball rolling. That first couple of days is usually okay. Or maybe even the first few hours, it depends on the severity of somebody's drinking, but usually we can get the ball rolling for the first few hours or first few days. Now, what I recommend doing differently is instead of letting it increase slowly over time, is you compress this graph. And what you do instead is you exert a ton of energy at the beginning of your journey. You put intensity and time into solving this problem, because then what happens is rather than it being difficult, the graph kind of pulls down, and then stopping drinking becomes easier and easier and easier. See, a lot of people that find my content, they'll binge watch it, and then they're leaving comments, Leon, as soon as I found your channel, I've not drank for 3 years. And these are people that haven't even hired me. I do have a coaching company. It's called SoberClear.com. We work with business owners and professionals. We help them control their drinking. But there are tons of people that will listen to my content and that's it. They don't drink anymore. My clients, they more want help, right? They want to be walked through a process. They kind of want the accountability. They want to commit to a full system rather than sporadic pieces of information. But either way, It's the same principle, right? What people are doing is they're putting the time in at the beginning, they're reading everything they can, they're buying books, they're watching videos, they're really studying the problem and trying to change their worldview. And it's exactly what I did when I stopped drinking alcohol. I read for hours. Hours and hours and hours and hours and hours. See, I've put thousands of hours into researching alcohol, and my worldview is impenetrable, which is why it is so easy for me to not drink. And also in this graph that you can see, we've obviously got the intensity of reframing alcohol and studying and changing your perception and maybe hiring a coach. But the second thing you can do in this part of the graph is gain momentum. Here is where you can start doing things like, getting back to the gym, working on your business, spending more quality time with your family, and you can start putting intensity into these kind of things. Because at the end of the day, what's the point of stopping drinking if you just want to sit around and watch Netflix all day? There is no point. We want to stop drinking because we want to better ourselves and have a better quality of life, not only for ourselves, but also for the people that we love and the people that love us. We want to create a better life for everybody. So instead of doing it this old way and, gritting through it and just slowly moving through and going through the motions, compress that graph, put in the work in those first few weeks, get clear on what alcohol is and how it's doing nothing for you, and start improving your life. Because that will put you on a trajectory that doesn't make stopping drinking more difficult over time. It becomes easier and easier and easier because you start seeing amazing results. Friends start asking you, you're looking thinner, like what's going on? Friends start saying, your energy's different, you look different, your skin's more vibrant, you're smiling, you're happy, you're nice to be around. And when you start hearing this feedback because you're putting in the work early on, it becomes this positive feedback loop, and stopping drinking gets easier and easier and easier until it's a total afterthought. Again, if you want my personal help, go to soberclear.com and don't forget to click the link in the description. Have a great day.